G'day guys, welcome back to True Eagle. Just a quick one today. Wanted to touch on the Liam Ryan trade rumours that are not brand new. They've been bubbling away a little bit over the course of the season, but I never really thought there was much in them, and I probably still don't that much, but I thought I would pass on Tom Morris's reporting that he's potentially up for grabs for a trade at the end of this season. Things are swirling at this time of year, obviously. I think there's some legitimacy in the Tom Barrass move. I think that could happen, more likely than not. Jake Waterman, that's obviously been talked about quite a lot this year. I don't think that will happen. Liam Ryan's probably somewhere in the middle for me. So before we crack into the discussion, I will just have a look at what was actually said here by Tom Morris. Clubs across the competition are on high alert regarding the possibility of snaring contracted Eagles player Liam Ryan, according to Tom Morris. He does break a lot of stories. Morris said both Victorian and non-Victorian clubs are keeping tabs on him, who is believed to have 2 years left on his current deal. So this is a quote from Tom Morris. He says, "I've spoken to 4 list managers in the last 48 hours who believe a 3+ year contract could tempt the 27-year-old. So that's 4 list managers, some Victorian, some not. Rival clubs believe West Coast would consider trade approaches from pretty much every player aside from an obvious couple to accelerate its rebuild and bring draft picks in." As an aside, who do you think the obvious couple are? Obviously Harley Reid. Is the other one Oscar Allen, being the captain, maybe? That's pretty much what it says. So basically, it's just that a handful of list managers are on high alert because they think Liam Ryan is gettable and could be tempted. So the reason I probably haven't bought into this story too much is my understanding is Liam's kind of settled in WA and is unlikely to leave. I think over the years, Hawthorn might have had a pop at him. Sam Mitchell's obviously got a bit of a connection to a few Eagles players, having coached here for some time, and that's probably why Hawthorn are leading the race for Barrass, other than a couple of other factors, like the fact that Hawthorn is going pretty red hot at the moment. I don't know if it's Hawthorn that's into him. They have been in the past. I don't know if they could potentially get a deal done for Liam Ryan and Tom Barrass. I suppose it's possible. But just speaking broadly on this potential deal. So Liam Ryan, to me, I think, is a player I'd rather keep. Like, that's the first reaction I have when I think about this. I don't really like the idea of trading Liam Ryan. Now, what's his value? He is contracted and, in my opinion, still a very good player. Probably not... I don't think he has the status of being an A-grade player for his position anymore. I think a couple of hamstring injuries, several in a row, probably hold him back from that. But I do remember the best version of Liam Ryan winning All-Australian in 2020, and I don't think he's a million miles off that. And I think he still adds a lot of value. My point there being, though, despite the fact that he's contracted, I just still think his trade market value is probably less than what his value is to us. So what would that be? First of all, I like the idea of Liam Ryan staying in our team, and he's one of the established players I'd rather keep. That being said, given where we're at, is he necessarily absolutely 100% required? No. And is it a case of us needing draft picks? Yes, absolutely. So I suppose the next question is, what is his value and what is he like to garner in a potential trade? Now, when you're assessing just pure market trade value, if I was a non-West Coast fan looking at him, I'd be making the arguments he's missed so much footy, and this year has been pretty good, but without being outstanding. So from that point of view, his value wouldn't necessarily be better than, say, a top 20 pick. I'm sure other fans, if they're watching this, will probably disagree with that, but I think you're talking about a player who won All-Australian and then had some injury issues. I think top 20 is probably about right, particularly given he's contracted. That being said, I think that his value to us, given that I expect he will play better and continue to improve his standard and consistency. I think this year's been pretty good. I think you can tell he's a little bit hampered still. I think he's playing with a bandaged elbow. Preseason this year was interrupted, wasn't it? Didn't he have a hamstring injury? Didn't he not play for first month of the season? Something like that. So I still think there's some room to grow with Liam into being a better version of what he currently is. And therefore, is the value he has to us as a leader, as an on-field leader, and also a leader of some of the younger Indigenous players on our list. He's the most senior Indigenous player other than Tim Kelly, I suppose. But, from what I can gather, Liam seems like a pretty beloved member of the Eagles, and I think he creates a lot of value there, from mentoring as well as just culture at West Coast, from what I can gather. That's just an outsider's opinion, though. Also, his skill set, his ability to run through the midfield adds speed, genuine speed. That's something like purely from a playing dynamic that we would immediately lose and miss, I reckon. His ball use inside 50, his ability to take marks. I know he probably hasn't taken too many hangers this year or anything like that, but just in general, I do think losing Liam Ryan would hurt us in the short term. Now, again, this just comes back to cost versus benefit and what would be the price that would be acceptable for letting Liam Ryan go. I think if we somehow swindled a late top 15 pick, that's probably at the threshold where I'd go, okay, that's a good enough offer to let a Liam Ryan, who is contracted, go. You also do consider this role of forward midfielder is an area of the ground, particularly if we get Jack Graham, which I'm still feeling iffy about, but it's an area of the ground in which we do have a few guys that need AFL experience. So Jack Hutchinson, we just recruited. Noah Long's coming back into this team. Tyrell Jury's in the team right now, but he hasn't been for most of the year. So there is players there that he could keep out. I mean, Tyler Brockman's another one that in theory, I presume the plan is to have him in our best 22. So Liam Ryan leaving the side would help us expose more of those guys who I think all of them to different extents are good enough to play AFL level, and that's probably where we're at, exploring that part. So there's pluses and benefits. I don't think he's an untradeable player. I think Jake Waterman should be an untradeable player for us, but Barras and Ryan leaving to rival clubs at this point, both of them, one's going to be 29, one's going to be 28 next year, and we could get a better than market value offer for them considering they're contracted. I'm open to this as much as it would pain me to see him go play for another team. So if we can nab a couple of top 15 picks or, in the first 18, maybe that is better for us long term. So those are my general thoughts on the prospect of Liam Ryan potentially leaving. I don't know how realistic it is. I don't really know the true effect it would have on morale and the loss of him as a mentor for some Indigenous players, which we're going to add to this year with Malachi Champion at least. But on balance, I think those are two players we should absolutely be open to. And I think it will come down to whether Liam really wants to leave. I don't think, I'm personally not of the belief we should really be pushing players out the door. I think TB has his own motivations for leaving. I think he sees the benefit and therefore that makes sense. And the same will apply to Liam Ryan. It's only if he's really open to moving to Melbourne and presumably getting a good contract, and hopefully that results in some sort of draft payoff for us. Now, we're also linked to Tom Cleary. Key defender, veteran, would come in and just be a stopgap for us. Now, that's with the prospect of Tom Barras leaving, we just get another player who can at least fill a role. And I think we're seeing that pressure right now this weekend. We've been unlucky with injuries to key backs. So Harry Edwards, Tom Barras, Callum Jamieson is the next. So those are the four. Three of the four are unavailable. Rotham is also out if he's kind of like the makeshift fifth key defender there. So, I think replacing Barras with an experienced key position defender makes sense. But I do feel strongly that this would just be a case of us recruiting him, playing him in the waffle for the entire year, being a senior player in that waffle team, and hope we don't need to use him. But I'd probably rather have someone like him on the list than not. Again, this comes down to list spots. Have we recruited Tim English? Have we let go of Barras and Ryan? I don't know why I said Barras weird that time. It's Barras, my God. There's a little bit to play out there, but just a couple of other players linked to moves in and out of West Coast. So that was all I really had to say. So there is an Eagles versus North Melbourne preview with Jay from the Centre Bounce that should be already up on the channel by now. I'm also going to do my usual review. Once I know what the team looks like, I'll release that maybe Friday. I'll be live streaming on the True Footy YouTube channel this weekend as well for the North Melbourne game. So there's a bit happening, and of course can't wait to cover all these news stories as they break around trades and coaches and stuff. I'll be around. By the way, guys, I can't help but notice we just hit 3,000 subscribers. I just want to thank you for that. I started this channel on a whim, basically, during the off-season. In fact, I think it was the pre-season. I think one of my first videos was talking about the intra-club game at the start of the year. Kind of snowballed into this being, a really fun project. And I kind of like the idea of starting this right as we won the wooden spoon. That wasn't so much my motivation. It was just coincidence. But I think there's something nice about starting from the bottom. And, hopefully in 5 to 10 years when we're back having a swing at the Premiership, this channel will still be going. It'll still be thriving. And it'll be a nice way to document our journey from where we are to where we're eventually going to end up, which is hopefully somewhere quite nice. But yeah, thank you for your support. I suppose my ambition with this channel is firstly it was to fill a bit of a void. There's some great podcasts and Facebook pages that are dedicated to the Eagles, with the YouTube scene specifically, a little bit of a gap there. And I wanted to take that opportunity to start a channel for a couple of reasons. I thought one day I'd look back, and if somebody had beaten me to this and create a thriving Eagles channel, I'd probably regret it, given I've spent 7 years on YouTube now already. And also, given that there was no one else doing it specifically on YouTube, my ambition was to come in and make a channel that Eagles fans could think, oh, thank God we finally have one of these. This is great. So I hope I'm creating value for you. I really appreciate the support. It does feel like its own little community. I appreciate the people who've jumped from True Footy to True Eagle to support that and possibly there's people who've discovered True Eagle first and maybe gone to True Footy. But I do appreciate the support. Again, it's nice to, well, with this specific channel as well, it's nice to, head to the comment sections in, games we've won or games we've lost, see some of the familiar faces, getting a feel for personalities. Like, it's quite a nice little intimate community. I'd still love to grow it though, so if you haven't subscribed, I would really appreciate it. But yeah, just wanted to take that opportunity to say thank you. I wanted to hit 5K by the end of the year. I don't know if that'll be possible now, but I'll be covering everything right up until the end of the draft, and then I'll probably be back in Perth myself. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.